Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is an Object 430U, the Tier 10 Russian medium tank. It's located on the southwest spawn of Westfield, and it's under the command of Jamie2006. And we've got 3 replays featuring him in different tanks, but unfortunately we've had a replay failure on all 3, would you believe it? And there's no engine noise, and I've tried my best to correct it, but it won't come correct, it won't fix. So I didn't want you to miss out on 3 really good replays, so we're going to do them without the sound. You do have the sound effects of the gun, but unfortunately you just can't hear the engine at all as he's moving about. Well, I think you can see he's got 2 marks of excellence on the barrel of his gun, and this tank is really more of a heavy than it is a medium, or rather it's referred to as a heavium. It's a very effective medium tank with a 122mm gun. It's capable of 440 alpha, and it'll penetrate 252mm of armor with the standard AP, and with the heat rounds that goes up as much as 340mm. So you can see in every sense of the word, this tank is more of a heavy than a medium, but it moves about at 50 kilometers an hour, which is about the same speed as a T10. First target he comes across is a VK. He gets hit for 505, but he got 550 out of the guy, and he's got a fairly fast reload and pumps one in and gets the front of the turret for 419 and a load of spotting assist there. Go low plate. No, he went for the side of the turret, but he took a round from an AMX-30 he can't see at the moment. Okay, the VK's out of the game. He's moving away from that AMX-30. Now he's perfectly placed here, because instead of actually going around the outside of the map, he's got the opportunity of clearing the village along with this Progetto 66, but he can also keep an eye on the enemy tanks across the valley. So it's a very good position to be in, but the trouble is he's got to watch out for that AMX-30. Oh, lovely shot! Low roll, but it's 432. So the AMX certainly felt that. And he's in front of a destructible building. Gets another one in! This time round, 405, a low roll. That AMX-30 is not going to like much more of that. Yeah, the 30's hiding now. I think he realises from this position he's vulnerable, because he's got 2 tanks firing at him. Yeah, so he's trying to hide. If we back off and let the T28 go in from the front, the Progetto 66 from the side, and then we can go round the back and outflank him. Ooh, we bounced around from an E50, who's actually joined us, and he's a little further down. Can we get a shot on him? Yes, we can. Oh, we pulse back behind the house. So we lost some hit points there. 288 is not a lot, though. Now we might be able to get behind the AMX-30 and get him from the rear. In order to do so, we're going to have to go around the corner of this house, and that's blocking the shots of the enemy T103. Remember, that's a 13cm gun, and now the E50 is opposing us directly across the main street. Yep, he's been spotted. At the moment he's safe though behind this building. They're proximity spotting him, I think. Or are they? No, I don't think they are proximity spotting. But now he can come around the other side, get the 50. Pumps one in for 457. You notice how he's doing this? This is actually doing it in 3rd person. He's not using sniper view. He's actually doing it 3rd person, so he can keep his eye on what the other tank is doing. Gonna get another shot here. Yep, he gets another one in, and this time round he gets 427, another low roll, but it means that the E50 is now on a 1-shot for him. And I think that AMX-30 is also a 1-shot, well, 2-shot maybe. Okay, can he get another shot in the E50? I think he can do it, but the E50 is trying to hide now. So we go around the corner and one into his engine bay, and he's out the game. Okay, our guys are doing well on the outside because they've now thrust their way all the way round. Now he's got a chance of getting this TS5 in the distance, getting by the side. Unfortunately, it didn't pen, but there's the tank he can pen, and that's the Gorilla 15. Okay, go for the Gorilla. Oh, just missed him as he was on his way down the hill. Now we're 3 up on the enemy. The gorilla is, oh, now we've got a T103, so he ducks back into hiding. Because of course the T103, as I said, 13cm gun. And we're bouncing rounds from a Leopard. Now he's also got a 105mm gun. It's a tier 10 game with tier 8 tanks in it. The T103 is a tier 8, but it does have that big 13cm. Okay, we're going to try and go around the outside. Well, the AMX-30 is gone. TS5 you have to shoot low. Now he's hoping that the guy will actually turn because he's got a very narrow arc. If he does turn, he'll get the side of him, and this time round he will deal some damage. Oh, he just turned, but unfortunately he got distracted by the gorilla. Yeah, the TS5 did change position, hit the tracks. Now, can he get another one in? Well, he might be able to get that Skoda T56. He's outflanking him now. Tries one on the move, but it's not so accurate on that shot. Normally, an Object 430U is very accurate indeed. It's got a rear-mounted transmission, so it's less vulnerable to hits on the front. Didn't get a pen on that one. In fact, he bounced around from the TS5 as well. Can he get a shot in? This time he should be able to do it. Slide. No! Again he doesn't do it. And the TS5 is now down. I think you can see that this is quite exciting. There goes the Skoda. So he's got his second kill. And he's now trying to outflank the T103. He's gone. So there's the 277 somewhere nearby. There he is, and the Gorilla 15. Oh wow, look at that! Bounced around from the Gorilla 15. Goes for the turret. Yep, gets him. Nice hit. 423. He's now one shot, and he goes. Kill shot on that one goes to the Strip 103B. There's only one enemy left. It's the Object 277, and he's somewhere over here. There he is. Now, he's a one shot. Go for it. And he gets him. And he's happy about that. Nice bit of damage. Here's the end of battle results, and that was an Ace Tanker Mastery 4 Jamie2006 in the Object 430U, the Heavium. He managed to get a shell proof for blocking more damage than the hit points for his own vehicle, a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him, a fire effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle, and a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 8 in that one. He also managed to get the Steel Wall for blocking the most damage in that game, as well as a patrol duty for being the only one spotting 6 enemy tanks whilst they were damaged. His win rate was 5,439, which is super unicam and a bit more. So let's have a look at team score and see where he stood. Well, funnily enough, he did get the highest damage in the game, but he didn't get 20% of the enemy hit pool, which is why he missed out on getting the high caliber. He got 4,181 hit points, and the next highest scorer was the Patriot, who managed 4,168 hit points, so not far behind, and he got a tank sniper out of that game. And the third amount of damage highest was the Scorpion with 3,344. When it came to kills though, he was actually top and shared that with the Patriot. Both managed to get 3 kills, and the Skoda T50 as well. And when it came to, well, shouldn't have happened. And when it came to base XP, he's actually a little further down, because the Patriot being a tier 8 tank, and of course the Object 430U being a tier 10, meant that the Patriot was earning more hit points, or more experience points rather, for every tier 9 and 10 tank that it was hitting. You get 10% extra for hitting a tier 9 and 20% extra XP for hitting a tier 10. So yes, it means that that extra amount, that huge amount of damage that the Patriot did, earned a bit amount more of experience points from the game. We look at details, we can see he fired 18 122mm rounds, got 14 direct hits on the enemy and 11 pens, 4,181 hit points, all of it done at close range. He took 11 hits from the enemy, but only 3 of them actually penetrated, 8 non-penetrations, and 3,510 hit points of damage blocked by armour, and that included rounds from a Gorilla 15, who was of course firing 15cm armor-piercing rounds at him. He also spotted 3 enemy vehicles, damaged 7 of the enemy, killed 3, 4,034 hit points of spotting assist. He earned 82,436 credits from the game and 34,623 for completing a mission, 117,059 credits altogether, and after repair, ammunition, resupply and consumables, still walked away with a profit of 49,942 credits. He also picked up 7 bonds because he was tier 10, and 2,035 XP times 2 for the first victory, 4,071 experience points altogether. Let's have a quick look at the armor of this vehicle. It is quite a beast, actually. It's you can see that heavy armor on the front of the vehicle, 300 millimeters there on the turret. Very, very strong indeed. It's the strongest armor on the vehicle. We can see the upper plate is actually 160 millimeters, but it's well angled, which means you come out at 246, coming up to 250, come close to 260, around near where the driver's viewport is. And the lower plate is 105 millimeters of actual impacted armor, but it comes out at 204 with the angling. So yes, looking at the turret, you can see that it's not a wise decision to actually go after those cupolas, because they're actually very strong. 220 millimeters on that one, and the commander's one, it's actually got 240 coming up to 270. You can see it's very, very strong armor indeed on that cupola. Very difficult to penetrate, but of course you can see there is a weak spot there, but it's not so strong. It's not so easy to get it in because it's still very, very thick. I suppose the best thing to do is you look at the sides first, because we have got spaced armor there, and it is, as you can see, slightly angled, so the shells would deflect down into the tracks. So angled armor along the side of the vehicles here, coming out with 110 millimeters thickness. But you can see the rear of the turret is actually only 75 millimeters, but with the angling it comes up to about 100. The rear of the vehicle is the easiest to penetrate, 45 millimeters. It's kind of flat there, and on the rear of the turret in the bustle basically is 65 millimeters. So let's have a quick look at the live view, and you can see that it says that the weakest spots for this tank is actually the lower plate, even though it's coming up to 210 actual or effective armor. You can see the weak spots not really around where the driver, because it's actually graded to increase the thickness as it gets closer to the upper plate, the top of the upper plate. Angling, you can see, yes, you don't want to go for the front at all. It's very, very tough from the front if he angles. If you're looking at him straight on, just go for that lower plate. That's the easiest thing to do, especially if you've got premium rounds, so you'll be able to punch through. Let's have a look at the modules. Okay, well, the driver is on the right hand side, the big fuel tank on the left hand side, so he is susceptible to fires, but fuel can act as an armor. In fact, it's actually on some British designs after the war, they actually did consider having specific fuel tanks located at the front of the vehicle to act as spaced armor, which where the fuel would actually slow down the enemy shells and stop the heat rounds from actually doing damage. We can see there's a massive ammo rack just behind that fuel tank, and we can see in the turret we've got the gunner on the right hand side, so we can look at it with the tank commander behind him and the loader on the other side of the vehicle. We've got the another ammo rack in the middle of the tank just below the bustle, and the fuel tanks either side of that. But again, as I said, this is spaced armor, so again, very difficult to get the shells to pen there, because you do need enough penetration, and of course you've got the possibility the shells will actually be deflected by the spaced armor. And at the back we've got the engine and of course the transmission, because remember this is a rear transmission vehicle, unlike the Object 430, which is actually front transmission. So that's the modules for the Object 430U. Now the second replay is on the other tank. The next tank in the sequence is a T55. So let's go straight into that replay right away. And here we are on the south spawn of Lakeville, and we got Jamie2006 in the T55A, which is a tier 9 reward medium. It's a German tank actually, for the German Democratic Republic. It was one of the tanks built by the Germans based on the Soviet T-54 and their T-55s, and so it's a premium. It's the reward tank you get for the third set of premium personal missions, or yes, the third set of personal missions. So if you can complete the third set, you get this handed to you. It's not a bad little tank, actually. One of the most heavily manufactured tanks of all time. Well, first shot goes into the A Phase 1, a Tier 9. It's a Tier 10 game with Tier 9 tanks in it. Trying to get a shot on the STB. Unfortunately, he well angled that one and the shell was deflected, but he's going for the A Phase 1 again. He gets another hit. Now this gun is a 100mm, capable of 320 alpha. It's, as I said, it's a very decent tank, and you may be seeing it on tour in certain countries in Europe very shortly. Yes, because certain people are running short on their normal tanks, and they're now bringing the tanks out of storage to use them instead. You know what I'm referring to. Nice shot on the STB-1. This time he does get a pen, but it's a low roll for 297. He's looking towards the town to see if he can get a shot into the enemy ones that have gone up the streets, because there are a few in the town centre. It's a good position on the lake road, although it is very dangerous on this road because it's very narrow. You could easily fall off and go into the water. He's trying to get a shot there on one of the enemy tanks that... Oh, there he is. Yeah, pumped one into his rear. He can use the rocks to his good effect, but he's staying in sniper view rather than actually going into safe mode. And another pen on the A Phase 1, and he's now one shot. So this position is actually yielding a lot of damage on the enemy tanks. Not one shot has hit him yet from the enemy. Though in this exposed position, I wouldn't expect him to stay alive for very long. One of the things I always used to enjoy on the Lakeville map was actually getting into the town and finding any spot where I can shoot the enemy. The enemy couldn't see him. Someone up on the lake road. No shot there on the IS-4. They're getting close to the edge of town, and it looks like what we're doing at the moment is holding the enemy back so they can't use the lake road, and there's a whole bunch of our tanks holding them back from the town centre, and they're almost at the end of the valley now. Another nice hit on the E75. Oh, we were spotted that time, so I expect that they will try to get a shot at us this time the moment we come to view. That E75 is thinking about it. No, he's tempting us. He's baiting us to shoot. Oh, now we've got problems. Jagdtiger. He fires one into the front of the vehicle, but he's kind of exposed here. And so I expect he will start taking fire from the town. So he has to be careful that he doesn't allow them to get an easy shot. And he's been spotted again. Ow. Took a round in the tracks this time from the Jagdtiger. But he's got a TNHT Viz 51 and he gets a hit. A high roll. 334. With a Jagdtiger. Come on. Pumps another one into the front quarter where he can get it through the front of the turret or the casement. But takes a big hit. 478, and that was from the 128mm gun. And now actually he took another hit from the Object 704, which is over by the north edge of the map, and that was a big one, that one. He blocked the shot there from the Jagdtiger. The nicely rounded turret's helping him go for a shot in the 257, and he hits the guy in the tracks, but takes another big hit from the Jagdtiger, and now he's down to just 23 hit points, so he can't afford to take another one, but he still gets one into the Jagdtiger. Gets a high roll for 323. He cannot expose his hull, because if he does get hit, it's going to be final. So he's trying to be defensive now and blocking any shot. He can kill this guy. Yes, he does get him. So the Jagdtiger's gone. The enemy has killed all the tanks in the town, but he still manages to kill a TNHT Viz 51 at a distance. So it's 2 kills now. can't see the 704. He's somewhere over the north side. The enemy team has still got 6 tanks. One of them is right next door to the lake. He's going to attempt it. He's going to try it. Go for low plate. Yes, he gets it. And he misses the shot that came back. That guy's in reload. Tries to get a shot through the lower plate. Couldn't get it in. That guy's going to be ready to shoot now, so he dare not pop out now. If he does, he's probably going to take a hit. And with 23 hit points, he can't afford to. He needs to let his teammates take some of the load now. The IS-4 is still on his own in the town centre, but there's an FV4005 and a Tortoise, and they're both coming towards the enemy. Puts another one into the engine bay of the IS-4. It's forcing him to back away. That and the Heshbon. Oh! We've got a Jaeger now at the end of the Lake Road. So he's now gone incredibly defensive. He's angling to try and stop the Jaeger from getting a shot. But he didn't fall into that trap there. So the IS-4 could get a hit on him, but he's going to try it yet. Gets a lower plate shot on the Jaeger, who has to pull back. But he's going to fire a premium round in, hits the casement, gets it in. So he's now a one-shot. The Jaeger is a one-shot. Trouble is that 704 is still there. If he pushes up... Oh, the Jaeger's gone. So he's now safe to move up. But of course, he's got to still worry about the 704. There he is. He's not looking at us at the moment. He's looking at the guys from the town. And the enemy's down to 4 tanks. He's done a fantastic job so far. Gets one revenge shot and a high roll on the 704, who's now looking in his direction. And he takes him out. That's his 3rd kill. Okay, can he get one of these guys? Pumps one into the rear of the T95, who suddenly realises the danger he's in, but it's too late. Here's another kill. So that's 4 kills. And the last enemy is an M46 Patton. And he doesn't get the kill because his teammates block him, but he's had a fantastic game. And considering he's down to very low hit points, very well done. Here's the end of battle results, and that was another ace tanker game for Jamie2006 and the T55A, the Tier 9 German Premium Medium. He managed to get a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills. He did get 4 exactly. A shell-proof for blocking more damage than hit points to his own vehicle. A duelist for taking out 2 tanks who damaged him. A fighter effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle. A bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he managed to get 6 in that one. He also managed to get a Spartan medal by blocking a non-penetrating shot when he had less than 10% of his hit points left, as well as a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, and a Confederate for hitting more of the enemy than anyone else in his team. His win rate from that one was 13,196 Super Unicum and quite a bit more. It was a very effective game in a low tier tank. It was a tier 10 game, and he was actually a tier 9, but he was beating tanks which were much higher tiered than him, and so just shows his skill in this vehicle. Let's have a look at team score. Well, the high caliber was 6,961 hit points in the end. That's a huge total for a little medium. He also managed to get, or rather the second place was the VK7201K on his own team with 4,405. And the third highest damage was that Jaeger, the one who came up to try and kill him, but he got 2 nice shots into. 3,703 hit points went to him. When it came to kills, the highest number again went to Jamie with 4 kills. 2 kills went to the VK7201K, the Object 263 and the Emil 2. And on the enemy team, the T95 and their Object 257 both managed to get 2 kills as well. Rather surprisingly, the Object 257 on the enemy team got 2 kills, but he only managed to get 272 hit points, so that's kind of a miracle, you might say. He must have been finishing off enemy tanks or tanks on Jamie's team who had very little hit points left. When it came to base XP, yes, of course, it's Jamie, and he's got all top in all 3 columns. 1,599 went to Jamie, 974 went to the VK7201K, and 962 went to the Wizzy 1201 GFT. Well, no, it's not the 1GFT. This is the Wizzy 120. Sorry, I was wrong. Okay, so let's have a look at details. 31 shots fired in that game. You only get 48, is it 48 or 43? I think it's 48 shots in total in the vehicle. He did have to use some premium ammo in this one. He got 31 direct hits on the enemy and 24 penetrations. So not all the shots actually penetrated, but he did make sure every round hit the target. 6,961 hit points of damage, of which 3,375 were at more than 300 meters, and most of those were the shots he was firing directly across the lake into the tanks in the town centre. He received 7 hits from the enemy, 3 of which penetrated and 4 non-penetrations, and yes, he did take hits from both the Jagdtiger and the Object 704, and the 704 of course was the most punishment of all, because of course that was a big 152mm gun which is capable of doing quite a lot of damage, 750 alpha on that vehicle. So yes, he did take one hell of a wallop with that one, but he did block 4 shots as well, and he blocked damage of 1,870 hit points in total. He spotted 3 enemy vehicles, damaged 10 of the enemy, killed 4, and did 122 hit points of damage assistance, or spotting assist. 92,198 credits for the game, 50,000 for completing a mission, 142,198 credits altogether. But because of all the premium ammo he had to fire to get through the front of that Jagdtiger and of course the Jaeger, he did actually end up making a loss of 19,333 credits for the battle. But he did get 2,398 XP, times 2 for the first victory, 120 for this being a premium vehicle, and took away 4,917 experience points altogether. And of course, he was the guy who carried this battle. So yes, it's thanks to him with his terrible armor. Well, it's not that great, C-55. It is, after all, one of the first main battle tanks that was brought out, and it was designed in such a way as to make it very difficult to penetrate because of that nicely rounded turret. Let's have a look at the armor so you can see exactly what it's all about. Again, like most Soviet tanks, and this is the tank that the 430U was actually designed to replace, has a nice amount of armor around the gun mantle. You can see there, you're actually seeing impacted armor of 240mm, but because of the angling, it comes up as high as 275 or thereabouts. So it's not a good idea to hit the front of the turret unless you're using premium ammo. The upper plate is slightly easier. It's only 100mm, but it comes out at about 165, about close to 170. Lower plate is easier, 100mm, coming out 177. It does have a big cupola, and this cupola isn't strong, so it's only 130mm impacted armor, but it's coming out at about 180, 150, 180, depending on where you actually put the shell. So you can penetrate this cupola. We look at the sides of the vehicle. They're slab-sided again. 84mm thickness off 80mm impacted armor, so you're not getting much of an advantage there. You can see the sides of the turret though, 121mm coming down to 122. The rear of the turret is easier, 165mm, so it's fairly easy to pen there. The rear of the tank, 45mm, again easy to pen. Let's have a look at the live map so we can see where the weak spots are. If this thing angles, if it doesn't angle correctly, you won't get any advantage. You have to over angle, in fact, if you're going to get the shell in or block the shell on the lower plate. But you can see if you actually angle it correctly, you're going to get a ricochet off the sides of the vehicle, and the turret arm is still very, very strong. And of course, if you're looking, that's good there, that's better. If the enemy tank's looking at you like that and it's angled, then you still got considerable armor blocking you from getting a penetrating shots. But you can see that the lower plate has increased slightly from 100mm all the way up to over 200, 210, 215, and of course on the upper plate again it's gone up to 165. So this is a tank which is basically a flanking medium, but it does have enough armor to angle and get shots in and block shots, which is why Jamie was using that rock to hide his lower plate and then just present the top of his turret to the enemy, to the Jaeger and also to the Jagdtiger, to stop them from getting shots into him. Let's have a quick look at the modules. And the annoyance here is that, of course, Wargaming have not shared the modules for the T55A, but that doesn't stop us actually finding out where the modules are, because of course the T55A is basically the same tank as the T54. So all we need to do is look at the T54 And there we are. We've got the modules for the T55A because it's the same vehicle. It's just a different name because, of course, this is the Soviet one and not the German one, but everything else is in the same spot. And just like in the 430U, we've got the driver up front on the right, we've got the fuel tank on the left. That's what this tank is vulnerable to being penetrated and for starting fires if they do penetrate into the fuel tank. If the shell goes in through the lower plate, yes, you've got a fuel tank there, which is really going to hurt you. And directly behind that, we've got an ammo rack, a big ammo storage, the deep storage, and then two smaller ammo racks either side of the vehicle. And we've got one ready rack, which is actually in the on one side of the turret next to the loader. We've got the gunner, as in the 430U, we've got the gunner on the right-hand side as we're looking at it, the tank commander just directly behind him, and he's got the radio next to him, because of course he's the radio operator as well. And down below them, just in front of the engine, is another fuel tank. We've got the engine in the middle, and then we've got the transmission at the rear, because they're, again, rear transmission vehicle. The turret is actually slightly oversized. I think you can probably see it here. The turret itself was too big for the actual hull, but they allowed it to go over the top, so it could actually still fit within the turret ring, and it kind of looped around, and the turret ring was inside the hull, but the actual outside of the turret was outside the hull, so to speak. So yes, kind of obvious that once you actually see it and you think, I think if we go back to the previous one, you can see it there even better. Well, not so much, but I think you can see what I mean. It's if we go back to the collision model, or even actually over to the visual model. So come back. Let's have a quick look. Just thinking about it. Oh, there we go. Right, now you can see the actual boxes. You can't see the overlap. In the visual box, the boxes outside the vehicle hide the fact that that turret actually overlaps the hull on both sides. So yes, you can't see that it overlaps, but it does in the if you go to the collision model there, and you can see there on this side of the vehicle. Well, too close. There you can see the overlap of the turret. Very, very obvious. Now, they did build these tanks. There's 100,000 of them built, and they actually sold them to Egypt at $200,000 per tank. And the current Russian Federation actually has whole fields full of these things, which they put into storage. They've been sitting out in the fields for probably about 50 years now, I think, because, of course, this thing was mass produced and just stored, and they kept them in storage parks. And then they started building the T62, or started designing the T62 directly afterwards. So other countries were still building this tank as part of the Warsaw Pact. And I believe some countries in Europe still have T55s, but they may have been sold on to other nations around the world, because the T55 is still a serviceable tank. They were used by the Arabs against the Israelis, and it's still seen in many third world countries as quite a reasonable tank, although it is susceptible to anti-tank guided weapons. So I don't think I'd want to be serving in one of these if I was in a third world country, because I'd more than likely get taken out with even a handheld anti-tank guided weapon, or even just a handheld rocket. They're not that strong. So yes, it does have armor, it does have a decent gun, but it is basically Second World War design, and it's obsolete now. It couldn't face up against a modern battle tank and survive. It would be turned into a bonfire very, very quickly indeed. So there we have the T55A. Let's have a look at the third battle, and that's in a much more modern tank. That's in the Leopard 1. And here's the last replay. Again, we've got the sound problem, so no engine noises, but we do have all the other noises. This is the Leopard 1, the Tier 10 German medium tank. It's got a 105mm gun. It's capable of doing 420 alpha and penetrating 278mm of armor. And it's an assault game. We're on the assault team on Sand River, So the idea is to kill all the enemy tanks and or capture the cap within the 10 minutes allotted. Yes, I'm showing no clock, I'm afraid, but that's, I think, part of the fault we've got at the moment with this program. It's just not running with all the details. Okay, spotted his first two enemies. Pumps around into the Hesh barn. Bit close for a Hesh barn. He should have been a bit further away. He did get clobbered by a Type 4 using an armor-piercing round. Looking for return fire. Yep. 382, which is a low roll. Oh, no, that's not very nice. CS63 just hit him for 362, and now he's been damaged by the Arty. And, oh, took another hit from the CS63, so he's having to pull back. Otherwise, he's going to take a lot of damage. He managed to dodge another shot, but he gets hit by the CS63 for a third time. If he doesn't get into cover soon, he's going to be out of the game, because he's now down to 162 hit points. And, yeah, that's not enough. Not for this sort of battle. So he's going to have to pull off a kind of miracle to win this one. And in fact, actually, the Emil's come over the edge. He'll be looking to try and take him out as a quick one-shot. Well, didn't pen the Emil because he actually hit the front of the upper plate. He's looking at the Emil, puts one into his lower plate. The Emil did fire back at him, but now he's worried about that Type 4. Yep, he's being pestered by one or the other, the Type 4 or the Emil, whichever way you look at it. And now this is the risky part, because he's got to get over this dune and stop the Emil from getting a hit. And that was the Arty as well. There's only one enemy Arty, that M53, but he seems very persistent. And now we can see the Emil, but he can't see us. Of course, he's a heavy, we're a medium. Our view range is 410 meters. Oh, unfortunately, we're just at the edge of it. He's using maximum magnification, but he could just about make out the Emil. Unfortunately, that shell didn't go through. So the enemy are doing a good job at the moment of defending their cap. They forced Jamie to actually pull back all the way back to near the start area, the spawn area. So he's going to have to do this with long range shot. Other people spotting for him. He's right against the edge. You can see that now. He's right against the north edge of the map. So he's going to try and use his long view range to work against the enemy. I'm not sure that one hit, but it seems to be going in the right direction. The FP4005 doesn't have much in the way of armor on the turrets, as you've seen before in previous battles. I think it's only 14mm if I remember correctly. And that enemy object 430U just gave him the side of the vehicle. But unfortunately was spotted again. So he's having to pull back, because if he stays in the current space, the enemy Arty will try to take him out, because he only needs one near miss. Goes past his own GW Tiger, who's doing his best. Okay, now he's got a much better view from up here. He can spot for himself. He's just inside the view range, that object 430U. Can you get another hit? He's in sight. And a nice one into the engine bay. 384 is what he managed to get. Can just about make out an enemy tank over there. I think that was the Leopard prototype. But he can get the 430. And he does. And that's his first kill of the game. He's going to have to work hard on this one. Puts one into the side of the turret on the Leopard prototype. But he's watching out behind him, because there is an enemy tank behind him as well. It's the Object 257. Yeah, I think he's decided that he wants to get the guys north of the river. The CS63 and the Type 4 Heavy are the ones he has in mind, I believe, because that CS63 managed to extract quite a few hit points out of him. In battles like this, the enemy can be tempted to go right into the enemy rear, and if they do, they can actually leave their base open to being attacked from a different direction. That GW Tiger should actually pull back because he's a bit of a open spot there. Okay, there's the Type 4, and he's just over the other side of that ridge line, the dune line. Oh, massive shot there, 434. It's a high roll, but it's I mean, it's just the top of the tank, and he's still got a pen. And I think the Type 4 just managed to, the Arty managed to get him as well. Okay, we've got the top of the prototype. He bounced off the top. Wrong angle. They built 6,565 Leopard 1s. Some of them are actually potentially going to go into service because a few nations have actually offered the Leopard 1 to Ukraine, although the Germans are reluctant to let them have or sell or give the Leopard 1s to Ukraine, mainly because I think the Soviets, or not Soviets, the Russians are very concerned that if the Ukrainians turn up in Leopard 1s, that they won't survive, simply because it is such a good tank. It's very light on armour, but that 105mm gun, which is the L7A1, is very effective. It's not actually built by the British, but it's a British design built by Rheinmetall, the L7A1. They made the prototype in 1965. Get the shot. Yes! Kills the Type 4 Heavy. It's his second kill of the game. It was built by the Germans, but it was bought by 10 countries in the end. In fact, actually, it's now in the service, or was bought by Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Greece, Italy, Lebanon, Turkey, Brazil, Chile, Ecuador. The British have 4 of them, just for testing them out. And, of course, Germany bought 2,437 Leopard 1s. And 172 went to Norway and 16 to Finland. So it's got massive sales. And I think if the Ukrainians got hold of some of these, I think the Russians would really rue the day that happened, because this is a very effective tank. Well, we can't see the enemy, but they've only got 4 vehicles left. One of them, the Arty, the M53, M55, and he owes that guy a few shells. Oh, there's one. And that's the Arty, actually. He's just spotted. Or was it him? And he takes him out with 1 round. 450 hit points. That's a high roll. Of course, the M53, M55 does have an ammo rack exactly where he aimed it. And it went straight through. But it wasn't an ammo rack explosion. But it just shows how weak the turret is on the M53, M55. And we are capping. So, we've got a Leopard prototype trying to block us. He can't see us. 1 into the turret, takes him out, so he's out the game. There's 2 left now. Strip 103B, the other side of the cap, and there is the enemy Leopard prototype. He's doing a fantastic job, considering he's only had 162 hit points on most of the game, and there he kills the Leopard. So that's 5 kills now. He could get a Top Gun if he can take out the Strip 103B, but they haven't got much time left. I'm sorry you can't see the clock, but that's the fault of the program. I tried virtually every client I had available to make this work, and unfortunately just couldn't get the sound up. So unfortunately you have to just listen to me, or to the sound effects. The Striv's probably somewhere up the far end, and he's trying to stay alive now, because there can't be much left on the clock. Now, it would be a bit risky going into the cap area, because I'm not sure they have long enough to cap out. And if they did go into the cap, they would be vulnerable to the Strip 103B getting a sniper shot. So he's doing his best to scout, and hopefully the gorilla would take him out as he's following up behind. Our gorilla's over by the rock, and there he's found him. Line him up. He tracks him with that shot. The guy has to use his repair kit. Takes another hit from the GW. Go for the kill. Gets one hit for 490. He's not a one shot yet, but oh, and the gorilla's missed. But he's keeping him isolated and immobilized. And this will be a kill shot, I think, if he gets it. Oh, and the kill goes to the Gorilla 15. So he misses out on getting the top gun, but he saved the battle for his team. After seeing that game, I'm sure you can understand why I felt that you had to see all three replays, even if you couldn't hear the engines. That was another ace tanker game for Jamie2006 in the Leopard 1. This time round, he got a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills. He actually ended up 5, 1/3 of the enemy team, and just one tank short of getting a top gun, denied by his own Gorilla 15, who just wanted to get the game over as quickly as possible. He also got a sharpshooter for getting 10 or more consecutive shots on the enemy, as well as a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a duelist for taking out 2 tanks who damaged him, a Viper effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle, and a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In this one, he managed to get 6. He also managed to get a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game. And remember, most of that damage, in fact, virtually all of it, was done when he had very little hit points left. He also got a tank sniper for doing the most damage at a distance of 300 meters or more. And his win rate from that battle was 15,044. That's a super high score for a tank like a Leopard 1. Very well played indeed. Let's have a look at the team score and see where he is. Well, he managed to get 7,787 hit points out of that game. The next highest scorer being the S3AL that he killed right at the end with, well, he didn't kill, but was killed at the end. 3,426 hit points went to him. And the third highest damage went to the Object 257 on the enemy team with 3,250 hit points. And yeah, look at this, the CS63. Most of those hit points came from Jamie. That was what he was aiming at and taking out. When it came to kills, he had the highest number of kills in the game, carried this team. 5 kills for him, 4 kills for the Gorilla, who took the final shot. He really should have recognised that Jamie did have one last shot available. He could have taken out that that Object S3AL with his next round, and that would have given him a top gun. But he just wasn't looking at that. 3 kills, of course, went to the Object 257 on the enemy team. And when it came to base XP, yes, he's got that one as well. So he's got the top in all 3 columns. 1,353 went to Jamie2006. 879 went to the Tortoise. And 819 went to the IS-32. He fired 27 rounds in this game, got 23 direct hits and 19 penetrations. Damage of 7,787 hit points, of which 4,295 were at more than 300 meters. So you can say that the majority of the damage was done at long range, and he was sniping at the enemy, mainly because he was so low on hit points. If he tried to get too close, they would have taken him out with just 1 round. So he used the abilities of this tank, which is a sniper tank. It's a sniper, a spotter, and a medium all rolled into one. And yes, he did that very effectively. It also helps to have a tank that can move at 70 kilometers an hour, which is the speed of a light tank, so he could get out of the way of the enemy shots. He took 4 hits from the enemy, all 4 penetrated. And if I'm not wrong, I think most of those shots came from the CS63. I'll have to look back through the recordings, but I'm pretty sure that it was all the CS63. He did receive 1 hit by way of splash damage from the M53, M55. He spotted 7 enemy vehicles during the game. 10 enemy vehicles were damaged, 5 were killed, 2,171 hit points of spotting assist, and he got 1 defense points when he reset the cap, the Leopard prototype. 109,547 credits, and 54,774 credits mission completion. Actually, I suddenly realized this is not an assault game. This was actually an encounter game. I was wrong about that. I was mucking it up. So it wasn't a 10-minute battle. It was an encounter game, and the Leopard prototype was capping. Yes, because you couldn't have had the defense points if he was actually on the attack team on an assault. So 164,321 credits altogether, but after ammunition, repair, ammunition resupply and consumables, he actually made a loss of 24,193 credits, and most of the cost was the premium ammo that he was firing. 7 bonds for this tier 10 game, 2,029 XP, and there was no multipliers, so that's all the experience points he took away. But 3 absolutely scintillating games in different tanks, all mediums. Let's have a look at the armor. Well, you look at that, you think, oh, well, he's got lots of red, so therefore he's actually nice and safe. No, he's not. Look at this. It's all penetrable. Yes, I'm afraid the Leopard one's just a sniper tank that really has to stay out of sight of the enemy, but try and get shots on them using that gun depression. It does have a very good gun depression, 9 degrees, so you can get shots on the enemy and duck out of view, but you can see virtually the entire tank is penetrable by a 105mm round. If we look at the collision model again, you can see that the strongest armor is actually on the upper plate of the hull, 70mm there, which is actually coming out at 110. It's got 60mm on the front of the turret there, but coming out at 102. So even if the turret is weak, the lower plate 50mm coming out at 82, so 83 or 82. On the sides of the vehicle, you've got this area here right at the front, which is 50mm on the shoulders at 62.1 coming out effective. On the sides of the vehicle, 35mm, and again slab sided, so well, slightly angled. So there's not much effect from the angling. The size of the turret, 60mm. We can see the engine deck, it's actually only got 20mm, so Arty should be able to penetrate a Leopard 1. If you do see one, you can get it in. If it's stationary, this thing moves very, very quickly. So if it's moving fast, you're going to have to try and loop a shell onto a fast-moving target. That's going to be difficult, but I know good Arty players can do that, and you're more than likely going to penetrate a Leopard 1, especially if he's stationary and very defensive. So do think about this as the target. It's like the Gorilla 15. Thin-sided vehicles, or vehicles with very thin armor on top, are prime targets for Arty, because you can do no end of damage to them if you get a penetrator. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the modules. Okay, like the other tanks we've seen, they're using the fuel up front to actually act as armor. Got the drivers on the left-hand side on this one, which is kind of unusual. With the fuel tank on the right-hand side, we've got the gunner on the left-hand side with the tank commander behind, which is standard for most NATO tanks in a way. And there's the loader on the right-hand side of the vehicle, a manual loader, which means obviously it doesn't suffer from the faults of having an autoloader, which means that the autoloader can fail, or that it takes longer to load than it does for a loading tank with a loader. And of course, he's got an ammo rack directly in the bustle of the turret, and there's the radio behind for the tank commander, who is also the radio operator. There's a deep store ammo store down in the underneath the turret basket, and we've got fuel tanks either side of the engine with transmission at the rear. So there you are, that's all the modules for the Leopard 1. So I hope you enjoyed all 3 replays. They were pretty incredible. I was so disappointed when I couldn't get the engine noise to come up, but I thought I had to do these replays because they were just too good to miss out on. Jamie2006 is an excellent medium tank player, so he really deserved to have these battles recorded so that we could all see exactly how well he performed, especially considering in most of the battles you saw, he was very short on hit points for most of the game, and so he was basically a one shot for the enemy, or at least pardon me, say it again. He was the enemy could have taken him out at any moment, but he used his skill to actually still hit the enemy. He was still moving forward, taking shots on them and getting damage, even whilst he was low on juice. So very well played indeed. If you enjoyed those replays, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm, and thank you for watching.